10 Stoic quotes that will give you life mastery. What if I told you that the key to mastering life has been within reach for over 2,000 years? The Stoics, thinkers like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Zeno, crafted a philosophy that isn't just for scholars or monks, but for warriors, kings, and everyday people like you and me. Their words weren't meant to be locked in dusty books, but lived, practiced daily, tested in fire, and applied to the most difficult moments of existence. Today, we'll explore 10 of the most powerful Stoic quotes that, if you take them to heart, can change the way you live forever. Seneca on the value of life. Quote, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. We delay living, thinking the right time will come. But Seneca reminds us, life isn't something that starts tomorrow, it's happening right now." We often convince ourselves that life begins after a certain milestone, after we graduate, get the perfect job, find the right relationship, or retire. But in chasing the future, we neglect the present. We drift through our days, treating them as mere stepping stones rather than destinations in themselves. Imagine if every day were treated as a complete life. How differently would you act? Would you waste time dwelling on past regrets or anxiously planning for a future that isn't guaranteed? Or would you seize the day, embracing every moment as if it were your last? This mindset shift is not about recklessness, but about presence. It means giving your full attention to the conversations you have, the work you do, and the experiences you encounter. It means living with purpose, even in the mundane. Every sunrise is a new beginning, every sunset a completion. When you wake up, ask yourself, how will I make this day meaningful? And when you rest at night, reflect, did I truly live today? Seneca's wisdom urges us to stop postponing our lives and start living deliberately, courageously, and fully. Marcus Aurelius, on responding to challenges, quote, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." How often do we feel wronged? How often do we replay events in our heads, feeling resentment grow? Marcus Aurelius tells us that it is our perception of an event, not the event itself, that causes pain. Change your perception, and the pain vanishes. We give power to insults, betrayals, and disappointments when we dwell on them. But what if instead we chose indifference? Imagine a world where nothing could shake your inner peace. Not a rude remark, not an unfair situation, not even outright injustice. This isn't about ignoring wrongdoing, but about refusing to let it dominate your thoughts and emotions. If someone insults you, it means nothing unless you accept it as an insult. If you fail at something, it only becomes a burden if you let it define you. When we learn to detach from perceived slights, we gain true control over our emotions. Next time you feel wronged, pause and ask yourself, am I actually harmed, or am I choosing to be offended? The answer may change your entire perspective on life. Epictetus on freedom. Is freedom anything else than the right to live as we wish? Nothing else. We often think freedom is about external conditions, money, status, or power. But Epictetus knew true freedom comes from within. Slavery didn't break Epictetus, because although his body was owned by another, his mind was unshackled. He believed that external circumstances do not define freedom. Your mindset does. True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about being immune to what the world throws at you. Are you free if you constantly seek validation from others? Are you free if your happiness depends on wealth or possessions? Or are you a prisoner to your own desires? The Stoic path to freedom is simple. Detach from what you cannot control. The moment you no longer let external forces dictate your emotions and actions, you achieve a kind of freedom that no amount of wealth can buy. Ask yourself, what controls me? What am I a slave to? If you can answer that, you can begin the path to true liberation. Zeno of Citium on purpose and action. Quote, "Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself." Zeno reminds us that life mastery is not achieved in a single moment, but through small, consistent actions. It is the daily practice, the small victories, that lead to the greatest triumphs. Most people want instant results, whether in fitness, wealth, or personal growth. But Zeno understood that greatness is built brick by brick. The small habits, the seemingly insignificant choices, they form the foundation of everything we become. Each decision you make, no matter how small, either strengthens you or weakens you. Will you read a book today or waste time scrolling? Will you train your body or let it atrophy? Each moment is a choice, and each choice compounds over time. The Stoics believed in discipline over motivation. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline built through repeated, consistent effort creates unshakable strength. Ask yourself, what small actions can I take today to build the life I want? Then commit to them, no matter how minor they seem. Seneca on anger. Quote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. How many regrets are born from a moment of uncontrolled anger?" Seneca's advice is simple: pause. Give anger time to cool, and what once seemed worth fighting over may no longer matter at all. Anger is one of the most destructive emotions. It clouds judgment, fuels reckless actions, and often leads to deeper regret. But what if we treated anger like a fire, something that, if left uncontrolled, will consume everything in its path? Seneca believed that anger is rarely justified, and even when it is, acting on it impulsively often makes things worse. Instead of lashing out, he suggests delaying. Count to 10, step away, take a breath. The space between impulse and reaction can mean the difference between making a situation worse or mastering yourself. Next time you feel anger rising, ask yourself, will this matter in a day, a week, a year? If not, let it pass. The strongest person is not the one who wins arguments, but the one who remains unshaken by them. Marcus Aurelius on fate and acceptance. Quote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" We resist fate, we wish things were different, but the Stoic approach is to accept reality as it is and make the most of it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled an empire filled with chaos, war, and treachery. Yet he remained steadfast, embracing every moment as part of a greater pattern. He understood that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our resistance to them. Imagine a river flowing down a mountain. You can stand in its path and fight against the current, exhausting yourself, or you can let go and flow with it. Fate is that river. The more you resist it, the harder life becomes. The more you accept it, the freer you are. This isn't passive resignation. It's about making the best of every situation, knowing that even hardships serve a purpose. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can this make me stronger?" When we stop fighting reality and start working with it, we find peace. Epictetus on preparation. Quote, "Difficulties show men what they are. Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough opponent." Difficulties aren't setbacks, they're training. Every hardship is an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Epictetus knew suffering firsthand. He was born a slave, yet he rose to become one of history's greatest philosophers. To him, adversity was not something to avoid, but something to embrace. He compared it to a wrestler training for battle. Each challenge, each failure is a test that forges resilience. Think of every challenge you faced, the heartbreaks, the losses, the failures. Did they not in some way shape the person you are today? When life gets tough, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me?" Every hardship is a lesson in disguise. Rise to the challenge. Zeno of Citium on true wealth. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. Zeno's wisdom here isn't just about communication, it's about learning. The person who listens more, observes more, and absorbs wisdom will always be richer than the one who speaks without knowledge. In today's world, everyone wants to be heard, but few want to listen. We rush to voice our opinions, eager to prove ourselves. But Zeno reminds us that true wisdom comes from silence, from absorbing knowledge before speaking. Imagine if you truly listened in conversations instead of waiting for your turn to talk. Imagine if you paid attention to life's lessons rather than assuming you already knew everything. The wealthiest people are not those with the most money, but those with the most understanding. On fear, quote, "He who is brave is free." Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite fear. To be free, we must conquer fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. Only the brave are truly free. Fear chains us. It keeps us from taking risks, from speaking up, from chasing the life we truly want. But Seneca reminds us that fear is an illusion. Once faced, it often disappears. Consider how often fear has held you back. That opportunity you didn't take, the conversation you avoided, the dream you put on hold. Was it truly fear? Or was it simply your mind creating obstacles that didn't exist? The way to overcome fear is through action. Do the thing you fear most, and you'll see how powerless fear actually is. The bravest among us aren't those without fear. They're the ones who move forward in spite of it. Marcus Aurelius on the shortness of life. Quote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. We act as if life will last forever, putting off what matters. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we are mortal. There is no guarantee of tomorrow. Live now, act now, be who you want to be today." Many people drift through life as if they have infinite time, postponing dreams, delaying happiness, and assuming that one day they will finally start living. But one day is not promised. Imagine if you had only a year left to live, how would you spend it? Would you still waste time on trivial concerns, or would you embrace every moment with urgency and purpose? Death is not something to fear, but something to use as a motivator. Let it remind you that each day is precious, and there is no time for hesitation. The time to act is now. These words from the Stoics aren't just historical wisdom. They are the blueprint for life mastery. The question is, will you live by them? Let me know which of these quotes resonated most with you in the comments below. And if you want more Stoic wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and remember, the mind is the key to everything. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified for more ancient Stoic wisdom so you have mastery over your own life.